There's a writer in Iowa for the Des Moines Register.
Sure.
And he basically did an opinion piece, and it was, this is the biggest home game for Iowa since 2015.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big one for them. The Kirk Ferentz stuff at the end of his career. It's a top 10 team coming to town. They're still alive. I mean, they only have one conference loss. One of their losses is a non-conference game to Iowa State, and so they're still playing for a ton. They're alive in the CFP race, technically, at number 20 if they win. So, yeah, it's a big one for them.
They had Indiana there a couple weeks back.
They did.
And I thought it was interesting that the opinion for this person, not that it's the right opinion, is that this is the biggest one in a decade. And
Indiana was not Gary was a little wrong on that because he told us that Indiana they were not ranked number 2 when that game happened. Because Oregon was the higher ranked team.
They were high ranked. I mean, they were
they were top
really
10.
Team, right?
Yeah.
I think he's just talking about what they're ranked now. But
yes.
The overall takeaway I had from it, whether it's true or not true, there's a lot of people that do feel that way. And I think that's a combination of Iowa's standings, of Oregon's current ranking, but also just of Oregon.
Yeah.
I think Oregon, whatever you feel about Oregon, it's abundantly clear that if they go to your stadium, it's a big game. And, that's an interesting opinion takeaway of it's been a decade. This is the biggest one we've had. That says a lot about, I think, the program that's been built down in Eugene.
Yeah, I also think there's the uniqueness of it where it's not the same Big Ten team that you've always played that's ranked, right? It's a first time Oregon's there in a long time. It's a program who's been nearly at the top of the sport for 25 years now. And so, yeah, I totally get that from Iowa's side. And I do want to talk. We'll get back into the Lincoln Riley stuff because that was a bomb that Josh Pay dropped yesterday, and just kind of expand on that and have some other thoughts on the college football weekend. So that's right around the corner. It's interesting when you look at Iowa because you've been referencing this Kirk Ferentz stuff all morning, and I don't know how I would feel. I have a lean one way on how I would feel if I were an Iowa fan about Kirk Ferentz being the head coach and that longevity, but it's also not easy to say when you're not walking in those shoes, right? Yeah. I'm not living the day in and day out of an Iowa fan.
Right.
I got no issue with Iowa other than them being the first primary every year in presidential elections. That bothers me. Why does Iowa always get to go first?
It's got to be tradition. I don't know.
I mean, it is tradition. That drives me nuts.
You can't.
Shouldn't we
tradition.
Spread it around? And then we get primaries and others. Like, our primary never matters because everything's basically decided by the time it gets to Oregon. Shouldn't we change it up a little bit and have a spotlight on other states? That's my main beef with Iowa. So
really?
If I'm looking for Iowa beef, I hate that they get to be first every time there's a presidential election.
Any other political beefs? Do you want to talk about how many senators each state gets?
Sure, that's it should be more representative of population, but that's a whole other can of worms that I'm not going to open right now.
Okay,
I just am
Sorry,
airing my grievances with the state of Iowa.
Beef, Iowa.
I have no beef with their football program.
Gotcha.
They punt a lot. They're very good defensively, but that's my main beef with them. I tend to think if I were an Iowa fan, I would be happy with my lot in life. Now, that is a lot easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
He has been there forever. Basically, their low water mark is 6-6, right? You got your ups and your downs, and he is the kind of coach that's not going to portal in a new roster every year and win 10, 11 games year in and year out.
He's dabbling in it, but he can't do it the way
not
some
quite
others
to that
can,
level, right? There's going to be a pop year where they win 10 or 11, and then you're assuming the next year you lose a bunch of guys to the NFL, and then you go down to 7 or 8 wins, and then you're back up to 9, 10, 11, and then you're back down to 7 or 8 wins, and it just kind of it ebbs and flows. I feel like throughout the course of his career, offensively, there would definitely be frustration as a fan. But I also look at the program and should you have higher expectations in that at Iowa? And they might win this weekend, and they might win who knows how the rest of the year is going to go. But I think if I were an Iowa fan, I'd be cool with Kirk Ferentz being my head coach because the unknown is a big uncertain of what's around the corner.
Well, it's an absolute stable of consistency, right? Like, I think that's kind of my overall point. I'm not trying to crap on Kirk Ferentz. I don't want that to be the takeaway. I just kind of curious, and I think we all in this area, whether Oregon was playing or not, if we were said, hey, Kirk Ferentz, your thoughts, I think we'd all massively say the same thing, right? Hey, that's good for Iowa.
That's a good coach for
Iowa.
Iowa
Should be happy with their lot in life. You look at the win-losses over the years for Kirk Ferentz. When he comes in there, they win one game, right? And it's like, oh, how about that? Yeah, he's got some 10-win seasons in there. He's got the 11-win season. He has the 12-win season in 2015.
Yeah.
I'm more curious how this is going to continue to evolve. I don't know if he retires this year or what, but
he seems like he's knocking on the door every year.
Well, he's close to 70 if he's not 70 already, right? So he's at that age. But, how is this going to evolve for him and them in this era of the Big Ten?
Yeah.
And this is kind of where I was thinking yesterday, listening to stuff of, I don't disagree that the expectations at Iowa should not be what they are at Penn State.
You're not a national title contender.
No. And I don't think anybody would ever have that takeaway. But they did also benefit from being in the crappiest of divisions in major college football for how long in the Big Ten?
Without a doubt.
The North, South, or the Legends, or
the legends and leaders.
Yeah, the losers and legends is basically
you
how
had
it
Michigan,
boiled down.
Ohio State, and Penn State all in the same division.
Yeah, and Iowa, give them credit where credit is due. In their division, they were reigning supreme, or they at least taking advantage of the seasons when they could. But he's 30-58 against AP top 25 teams when he played them. They're coming into this game 0 for their last 11 against ranked teams. And again, I think there's a little bit of truth in here of, I don't think Iowa could expect more, but also, are you just beating up Rutgers and Minnesota and Maryland and then never beating the good teams?
Yeah.
You know, he has some good seasons here. I'm not suggesting he can't
and it's
coach.
not that he never has, because he has pulled off big upsets. But I see your point on the losing streak against ranked opponents. It would be frustrating.
The article, if you look up like coaches' records in this conference, the article is labeled Kirk Ferentz most ranked wins of Big Ten coaches, and you're like, ooh, and then you dive in and you're like, oh, going into the year he's 30-56.
Okay, he's been there a long time. You get
well,
four.
But both sides of
that
that are true, right? Like he has the most wins because he's been there for a long time.
Yes.
Also very below 500 because he's been there for a long time. So. I'm more just kind of curious, is he a coach that your team goes against and you're scared of?
I think at this time of year and the situation that they're in, I don't know if it's always the case with Iowa year in and year out, because that, again, is the reality. There's going to be ebbs and flows of them as a football program where you're going to have your highs and your lows, and some years they're 6-6 and you're not scared at all.
Like, are you more nervous this year than you would have been last year if you're playing Iowa at the same time of the season? Because they were 8-5 last year, so they were technically a worse team.
Probably. I also can't remember a lot of details of Iowa's team last year other than they punted a lot. Like, they're kind of the same team every year with slightly different versions of it, if you will. But their DNA traits have been the same for 20 years.
I do feel like Pate's going to steal my thing of the idea of an Iowa game.
Yes, it's great in theory.
It's great on paper because it's usually a ranked matchup, but you don't enjoy watching the game.
I mean, it's the equivalent for, you can make this argument in my face. I'm a big snow football guy. I love the aesthetic of it. And then you turn it on and you're like, all right, they can't really run. They can't really throw. But it looked pretty, though, man. There's snow on the ground.
Snow angels.
I'm sitting in my house all nice and warm and toasty on my couch watching some snow on the field, so that's kind of cool. So I don't remember all the details of Iowa last year, so it's hard to kind of project that. But I would say, like just knowing Iowa's DNA traits and how tough they are defensively and how they've been doing. The fascinating part about him, and it's funny when you listen to coaches and players who've been around a long time, like you could talk to somebody who coached and game planned against Kirk Ferentz in 2007 in 2003.
Yeah.
That would it's like, and then you game plan for them. It's literally the same thing. It's been the same team for 26 years.
Yep.
With slightly better offenses, slightly, it just kind of, again, ebbs and flows. That's what's most remarkable for me. He's never had to reinvent himself. And so many coaches have something that they lean on and then they kind of lose it. Like we just went through this with Gundy at Oklahoma State. Gundy was a bit of this. He was there for a long time. Not really a national title contender, but some really good years. Came close to breaking through.
Flirted with it
a little bit. Won a conference title here, and then all of a sudden it's like, what happened to your DNA? You kind of lost your way and you got fired and everything's kind of cratered in on itself. And so to be able to do it for that long, I do think there's a deep level of respect for having the same team essentially for this long. Phil Parker's been there forever, and it's just
I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. I'm more just kind of curious, does he scare you as a coach?
I think the situation of Iowa scares me, and he is adjacent to that. Yeah. So, I think playing...
he's built it.
He's built it. Yeah. He deserves credit for it. Like, when you look at Hayden Fry, who was the coach before last time Oregon and Iowa played, he was there for 20 years. He was their head coach from 1979 until 1998.
Right.
He had, in that stretch, essentially 20 years, 3 seasons where he won 10 games.
Yeah.
And Kirk Ferentz did it 3 years in a row from 2002 to 2004 within 5 years of taking over.
It's very hard to comp. It's a little Steelers-esque, right? It's hard to comp when you have 2 guys for like 50 years.
They have had 2 coaches since 1979.
So there's a little bit of like, that's hard to comp even though.
Yes.
Because Hayden Fry didn't play in the losers division of the Big Ten.
No, he did
The leaders
not.
and the losers.
That is a totally fair point about scheduling. But
I'm not trying to take away it.
Totally
again,
fair.
He took advantage of it, and his system is proven to have success. You have to admire whether you coach and you volunteer for your kids' team or you've been watching sports your whole life. You obviously have a lot of admiration and respect for a dude that can do it that long.
Yeah.
At one place and not move around and not jump at the first chance to cut bait. But I also am like, where they're at right now is interesting. I'm looking forward to this game a lot, but 0 for your last 11 against ranked teams and very below 500 against ranked teams in general since 99. You know, are you just beating Rutgers a lot? And if you are, kudos to you, tip of the cap. I can't wait to see what Phil Parker and him are going to have planned up for Oregon in bad weather.
It's funny, though, too, because even though they've gotten rid of divisions, now these bloated conferences are so big, you're still going to have years where you can catch, and we talked about this with Indiana last year. You didn't have to play.
You avoid the big dogs.
You avoid big dogs.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of who, look at Ohio State's conference schedule this year. They don't play Indiana, who's the number 2 team in the Big Ten. They don't play Oregon, who's currently the number 3 team in the Big Ten, or you tied for it, I guess, with Michigan.
They have a down Penn State team now.
You got Washington on the road. You got them early in the year, so that was, it's a challenging place to go play. But Washington is a they've lost a couple of conference games and it was off of a bye, and so you don't have to play USC. They didn't have to play Iowa this year. They do get Michigan at the end of the year, so everybody's going to benefit from it. Everybody's going to have their tough years scheduling wise. But I think the idea of being excited for an Iowa game and then turning it on and it being different is totally valid. And I know I'm in that way as a fan. Like, I'm pumped for this game because I'm going to find out a lot about Oregon. We'll make our picks coming up in 30 minutes. But I acknowledge going in, it's going to be ugly.